welcome back to eTown. Michael, good to see you.
Thank you. It's great to be here.
I get to ask you, how you feeling?
I'm feeling happy because we're at eTown and it's daytime, and afterwards I get to go out and walk around in the beautiful Colorado air and sunshine. So I'm happy to be here.
I'm so glad you're here. You know, you've been working hard and you've been pushing hard for a long time, so I'm glad you're doing well.
Thank you.
Can we talk about the film a little bit, Stay Human?
Yeah.
First of all, it's a really moving documentary, and as I mentioned, it's not just a travelogue. You're in different places, but these stories are just so remarkable.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so over my years in making music, I've tried to make music that that made a difference in people's lives, you know, that would make people feel or have the fuel to get through challenging times. But there's a lot of days when I wake up and I pick up my phone and I read the news and I feel like, man, this world is a complete SH show. You're
losing ground.
What did I even do anything? You know, I've like over 30 years of making music. Did I really even do anything that made a difference for anybody? And then I meet people along the way who inspire me, and they remind me that it's the little things in life, and that, you know, for example, a woman who's in the Philippines named Robin Lim, who's delivering babies in this. She's a midwife. She's delivering babies in the wreckage of this hurricane, and I ask her about it, and she says, you know, when hurricanes come, babies don't just decide to stop. We're going to take a month off and. Right, back. You know, they come.
I never thought about that. I know she went to Haiti. You know, you think you hear about all these disasters.
Yeah, wherever they are, she goes and helps delivers babies.
That's so wild.
And Hope and Steve December, who are a couple in Atlanta, and Steve has very advanced stages of ALS, which is one of the worst diagnoses you could ever get. One day you wake up and a finger doesn't work, and your arm and your leg, and his wife was tweeting me and saying, Michael, we would love to come to see one of your shows. You're one of Steve's favorite artists. And so we invited him to come to the show, and we're playing this song, Life is Better With You. And I look over at Steve, and at this point, he could only move his lips. And
in a wheelchair.
He's in a wheelchair. And he looks up at Hope, and he says, Hope, you know, I want to get up and dance. And so with all her strength in her tiny body, she lifts Steve up out of the wheelchair, and they have this beautiful slow dance in front of 20,000 fans, you know, and I start to cry, and my wife is crying. I look over at our big, tough bass player, Carl, he's crying, you know.
I was crying looking at it in the movie.
And afterwards I said, Steve, what did this mean to you? And he said, you know, yesterday when I was at the festival, I was kind of wheeling around, and people don't really know how to connect with me because I'm living life very differently now. And people kind of look the other way. But after that moment, when I was up on stage, people came up to me and they said, hi, Steve. And suddenly I was Steve, not just the guy in the wheelchair. And so my wife and Sarah and I, she's an emergency room nurse, and I said, let's do this for as many families as we possibly can. So from that, we started...
You started a foundation, right?
Yeah, we started a nonprofit called Do It for the Love, and we bring people with advanced stages of life-threatening illness, children and adults with special needs, and wounded veterans to see any live concert by any artist in any city in North America.
Does it surprise you which shows they want to go to and how many tickets you're buying?
Oh, I never imagined in my life I would have ever bought as many Taylor Swift concert tickets as I have. But she's the favorite at the moment.
That's so funny.
But the film it's all about people who inspire me.
Right.
And so in order to show that in the film, I also document my life and the way that I grew up and how I got into music and the challenges that I've faced being in this very mixed family, as you mentioned, being adopted, growing up in a family with an alcoholic father, and all these things that as I've grown through my life in music that I've had to face. And music is this wonderful thing because, you know, everybody in life is given gifts to learn how to cope with the planet. And it's like if you are a physicist, you're given mathematics, or if you're, you know, a scientist, you're given, you know, biology or whatever to help you to better understand the world. And I feel like sometimes it was a bad joke that I was given the gift of music, you know. But music has been this amazing thing to help me both, like at times in my life, escape what I was going through in life, but at other times really thrust me head first into what's going on and really have to face my emotions and what the challenges that I see in life. And
There's pressure, I suspect, for you, to be the positive, group leader and keep the thing going all the time. And that's a persona in some ways that you have to inhabit. And what I was surprised by in the film is that you're being really candid about, the challenges you're going through. You describe your dad as having two modes, silence and rage.
Yeah.
And that's so unpredictable and so unsettling for a young person to be in a household with that kind of uncertainty.
Yeah.
And then the fact that you can suffer from depression, or that you can, there's physical challenges of being as active as you are on stage and having played basketball and, and your kids. And, you're really transparent in ways that I don't think you needed to be, but it's really meaningful that you did in this particular film.
Yeah, when I was a kid, you mentioned my father. He became an incredible example for me. I remember when I was a kid, my dad would be drunk and yelling at my mom in the next room, and I'd be sitting there with the covers on and headphones on, listening to music, trying to block it out, and literally like praying to God, like that lightning would come down and like strike my dad down. And then when he was 66 years old, he had a stroke, and afterwards, he had to battle to really come back. And he blossomed. It was literally like a butterfly coming out of a cocoon. He turned into the most incredible, loving person you could ever imagine. He stopped drinking. He made amends to me and to everyone in his life who he had ever hurt. And he became an example for me of how people can evolve and how people can change. And even somebody who you think is the most, horrible person, that you can begin to start to see like, well, what happened to that person to make them become that way. And one of the reasons I made the film is that I believe that there's no one in the world that you wouldn't love if you knew their story. And that's really kind of my message to the world today, is like all of us are trying to understand who we are as human beings and trying to be our authentic self and showing up that way in the world. Mm-hmm. And then to be able to see that in someone else is really, for me, what helps me to stay human.
Yeah. In case you just tuned in, you're listening to eTown here with Michael Franti. Just talking about the idea that there's no one in the world whom you wouldn't love if you knew their story. And applying that to this era we find ourselves in, where there's a lot of divisiveness and there's a lot of judgment and there's a lot of calling on, it's just sort of on both sides. It's like, oh, well, I can't hang out with them.
Yeah.
So how do you apply that to this era? Because I know your music cuts across all kinds of boundaries and borders.
Yeah.
All kinds of people come to your shows.
It's hard. I mean, especially when it's coming from the very top down, when the president is every day tweeting crooked Hillary or lying Ted Cruz, that no good actor, Tom Cruise, when he's putting all those names out,
he's done it, yeah.
And I sit on my tour bus with Carl and I'm like, I got a really good one for Trump. But I resist. And the reason, and I, not in the sense of resist the word or the political word, I feel like the best way to show up in this situation is to be who you want the world to be. I mean, that's the classic phrase, but it really is like to show up and to be loved to somebody who's different than you, and not to just be out there calling names back and do that. And I really believe that history is going to look kindly on the people who do that. I mean, I was so inspired by Michelle Obama's speech when she said, when they go low, we go high. And it's such a simple thing, but it's really true. I believe that that's the way that we need to be showing up right now, and not just be hate back towards what we feel is the problem today. So
I started a new thing that I'll tell you more about later, but it's called purplestate.org, purplestate.org, which is like, let's cut the red state, blue state stuff. We can all
figure out problems.
We can figure out,
Yeah, you look at a problem like, climate change, and you think like, well, how are we going to solve this? And when you really look at it, it's like, we need the best that science has to offer. We need the wisdom of indigenous people. We need the common sense of everyday people. We need the money and creativity of entrepreneurs. We need the efforts of school teachers and families who are going to raise kids with an understanding of what's happening in the world. And we need the cooperation of governments. And we need everybody to solve all of these things. And
Before we get back to music, I want to just mention that you helped us discover Victoria Canal, who's just a great singer and great character.
Yeah.
How did you two meet?
Victoria, you should come over here and talk.
She'll have her own
That's
chance later.
Okay, all right. No, come on over. We'll get you over here. So anyway, get over here. I follow a lot of artists on Instagram, and so because of that, on my feed, other artists come up. And so one day she came up on my feed, and I saw her singing this song, and it really moved me. And I was like, wow, she's really good. And so I just thought, well, I'll just send her a direct message. Maybe she'll, I just like, hey, what's up?
I was like, who is this guy? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
And so I said, I love your music. She said, oh, wow, thanks. And who is this guy? and then I said, I'm making a record in Nashville. You want to come down and like sing on a tune or write a song together? And so she came down.
Yeah, I was in my dorm room when I received that message. And it was actually not even about Nashville first, it was about Red Rocks. And he was, and I didn't know what Red Rocks was because I've never lived in the States before. So he said, do you want to come play at Red Rocks? And I was like, where is the gig? And and he sent me a picture of the crowd and like his sold out thing every year. Man, it was wild. So now I'm here, I guess. Yeah. Sheesh. And yeah, you just never know. Thank you. I'll go back now.
Well, listen, that's in the midst of all that you got going on, and the touring, and the traveling, and the new record, and the new movie, and that's cool that you have the time, whether it's on the bus or at home, to both look out for people in need, and also keep your ears on some fresh music and new music, and see what's bubbling up.
It's what I always tell my son. I say, son, I can't promise you that I'm not going to continue to get older, but I can guarantee you that I will remain immature for the rest of my life. And music is my way of doing that. And so like I'm always looking for new artists and seeing what people are doing. And my two sons are like that. They're like my DJs. They're like, Dad.
Oh, cool.
They send me this text, check out this thing and check out this thing. And for once I was like, son, I want you to see Victoria Canal.
You've heard the joke, right? When the kid says to the mom, hey, I want to be a musician when I grow up. And she says, son, you can't do both.
All right, I'm using that one forever.
Well, let's get back to music. Welcome back to the stage, if you would, Michael Franti.